So let's say that networking is the avenue you're going to take. Here's the thing people don't realize.
But that's where the value is. And I think that's where a lot of these programs that we're seeing roll out that I say are like borderline scams is...
If you can get an alternative stream of income while starting your business, man, it really helps you go a long way. It really does. But like we said earlier, good morning.
How are you?
Good, man. How are you doing?
Fantastic.
How was your Thanksgiving?
It was actually fantastic.
Where'd you guys go?
Nowhere. Everybody comes to my house.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
Who's everybody?
My wife's brothers and family and all that stuff. So we have like, I don't know, 15 people at my house, whatever
Very
it is.
cool.
Yep.
That's awesome.
Yep.
We went to my cousin's house. All the family on my father's side. Well, got together over there. It was nice. It was a good time. We're in near Radnor.
Turkey?
Of course. Turkey, and we're Armenian, so a lot of other Armenian dishes as well. Rice pilaf. And, so good.
Yeah, I never make like, the only two things that I make that are like traditional are pineapple stuffing and turkey. Everything.
Okay. Pineapple stuffing.
Yeah. Never had pineapple.
Is it literally what it sounds like?
It is literally what it sounds like. It is the unhealthiest thing you'll ever eat in your life.
Really?
It's basically...
Why is it so unhealthy? It sounds like pineapple's good.
It's like a pineapple upside down cake, but it's in the form of a stuffing. Like it's
just call it stuffing.
Stuffing, right?
It's really dessert, but you call it
correct.
stuffing.
And you have it with the turkey because I don't like cranberry sauce, so I like having something sweet with it because I smoke my turkey.
Okay.
So the sweetness kind of balances it out. So yeah, it's basically just a ton of butter.
Yep.
And sugar. And
sounds
pineapple
like every dessert so far.
And bread. That's it.
Do you put gravy on it?
You can if you want to.
No, I was curious.
You can put gravy on anything.
Put gravy on anything.
But
anyway.
no, it's good stuff. And
cool.
then I make like roasted veggies and stuff like that. But
did you take off? How long did you take off for? Like, obviously we're off Thursday. Did you take off Friday?
No.
No?
No.
Oh, good for you. I did.
I did not. I didn't take off Wednesday or Friday. Actually, Friday, believe it or not, we got our largest print job of the year, came in Friday.
Oh, is that right?
I thought Friday was going to be
the deadest day, right?
But it's funny because I've been looking at it historically. It seems like every 3 years, that Friday just blows up.
Really?
And it did this year.
What the heck is that all about?
It can be one job that comes in, right?
Well, sure.
I don't know. So I think it's because of how it fell this year, is that December 1st was the Monday. So anybody that had to get stuff in before the end of the month, before December 1st, had to have it out Friday.
Okay.
So that seems to happen sometimes, is that if you get Thanksgiving and then a weekend, like Black Friday, and then a weekend, and then December 1st falls on either a Monday or a Tuesday, we get a ton of work on that Friday. Otherwise, it all comes in that Monday.
That's weird. But hey, if it's predictable, that's great. That's wonderful.
It kind of is.
That's cool. I don't know what's going on here too. It's kind of the same thing. It wasn't on Friday, but this week. So I would say the last couple of weeks before Thanksgiving, things were kind of slowing down as far as phone calls and new things coming in. And I usually that's very typical this time of year, kind of as you get near the end of the year, things start slowing down. But I don't know what happened this week. Every day this week, I got like 3 or 4 brand new things I've never seen before. It was like, wow, it's out of nowhere. Phone calls and people coming in and just all kinds of stuff. Crazy.
That's kind of cool.
It is. It's fun.
You'd almost think something happened last month that is making things move.
What could that be? Well, if you think of it, let me know.
Okay.
All right. So, where do you want to go today? Do you want to go to small business or startups? No,
let's do startups.
You want to do startups today? Okay, we'll do startups.
Let's do 2 from startups, and then if we don't find anything good, we'll move to small business. Just a quick reminder, if you're listening, hit that subscribe button. It really helps us a lot.
And don't forget the like button. That helps too.
The like button is really good.
The like button's a good thing.
So enough with the plugs. Let's
get back to it. All right. So this is on a goat. This one is on a goat. This is less of a question and more of a directive or some advice, I would say. And I kind of like this. I'd like to talk about this. It says, don't quit your job even if you have savings, right? And this is, I'm guessing this is about people that are starting their own businesses that have jobs currently, I'm guessing, right? I know this has been said a million times, but I want to share my personal story. Don't quit your, this is in bold letters.
Oh, yeah.
Don't quit your job if you have a good alternative stream of income. It doesn't matter if you have savings. Here's my story. I'm going to briefly go through it. I saved up a year, saved up 1 year of runway, quit my job, and bought a one-way ticket to Thailand to build. Looks like they were building a SaaS business. It failed, and let's see. After 2 months, I started to feel the pressure financially, but I underestimated the psychological aspects of this. I decided to offer my skills as a service instead. They were doing freelancing. I worked as a product designer for 10 years. Monetizing a product is very hard. It changed everything. The money from freelancing gave me the headspace needed to pursue their own ideas. They stopped caring about whether the SaaS ideas would succeed or not. They didn't succeed with the SaaS product, and they might never succeed. But but that's beside the point. What they're telling you is, or what she's saying is, I knew all along. You can't see my action. You can see by my actions. I was naive enough to believe it didn't apply to me. As I'm typing this, I'm literally burned through my savings, but because of freelancing work, I made them back twofold. I don't want to imagine my state of mind had I not chosen the freelance route. So what they're basically saying is, if you're going to start out a new business and you have savings, that might not necessarily be enough. If you have a stream of income, now the key here that I didn't read is it can't interfere with your business plans, though. Right? If you're going to do freelancing and you can do it on the side, off hours, or in between times when you're working on the primary business, cool, no problem with that. But you can't take away from the business, otherwise it's never going to succeed. That business, you need to have 30, 40, 50, 60, 70 hours a week into that new startup that you're doing. And then if you can squeeze another 10 or so in freelancing, beautiful. But don't let the freelancing take away from the startup that you're trying to get to. That is where that's where your attention needs to be.
Yeah. And I think he's right when he says, once you have income, once you don't have to worry about the money from freelancing, you also aren't as stressed. And that's the thing I liked about it. You aren't as stressed about whether it takes 3 months or 6 months to launch your own idea.
Right.
Like if time isn't important, because you and I both know that to build any business, time is a key factor, right? And it's not just how much work you're doing, it's also how long before whatever you have catches on. How are you going to put money into marketing it or advertising it? So if you don't have a baseline income to cover you, it's going to make it hard to start any business.
Right.
And how you split your time, I think, should be determined on you personally and how quickly you want to launch your idea. If you have a time-sensitive product, right, like if you have a fad product or something that is hot right now, it's probably more important to launch it quickly. But like, let's say you wanted to build a new, CRM system, right?
Sure.
Because there's a million of them.
Yeah.
Does it really matter whether you launch it in 3 months or 9 months?
No.
As long as it launches and it's good. And you and I both know you're not going to get massive opt-in for new CRM systems in the first year of it being around, right? It's going to be...
It's going to take time.
Correct.
But that once it is ready to go, and I agree with your point that over a period of time, you can take a little longer to develop it. But once it's ready to go, it has to be your full attention.
Yeah.
Because if you're not paying full attention to it, no one else is going to either.
Correct. So you gotta, it's that balancing act, right? You need enough money to survive, but figure out what is the absolute bottom number that I need to survive. And that should be the amount of freelance work you take on.
Right.
If you're smart, you cut down every expense that you can.
Yeah.
That isn't a necessity,
right?
Like you need food, you need internet, right? But do you need steaks or do you need ramen noodles?
Steaks, of course.
Of course, right? And that's kind of the thing that a lot of people underestimate is when you are growing a business, when you're starting a business, a lot of times if you aren't in a position where you started and you get clients from day one, the first thing you have to do is cut all your expenses.
So interestingly enough, the person says that they went to Thailand.
which I
which
think
is where you're going to cut a lot of expenses, right?
It's
and
a smart move.
That's a beautiful move right there. So I personally never thought of that. That's a great idea. So if you're doing something in the software world or something where you can do it remotely, what a great Philippines, Thailand,
South America,
all those South America, right? Those are places where the cost of living is so far below what it is here in the United States.
You also have access to cheap labor, cheap tech labor.
And good tech labor.
Correct.
Really good and cheap.
And I mean, they're all over the world now. I mean, we started hiring people out of South America. Their English level is pretty good. And they are fantastic at what they do.
Yeah.
It's really, most of the problems come in when there's a language barrier.
Right.
So if you can go to countries, right, as starting a software business where the language isn't a barrier and you have access to their tech or to their like programmers, you can make fantastic headway in a very short amount of time.
Absolutely. Yeah. So I mean, I love the move to Thailand, tried the SaaS game. Great. Nothing wrong with that. I'm almost glad you failed because you probably learned a lot from it the first time around, which just means that you just go back and rebuild it. You'll do it twice as fast and twice as good, right? And you had that additional source of income. That's a win-win. College will never prepare you for that.
No.
You can spend $250 grand on a degree and not get 1/10 of what you got out of trying this on your own. You probably spent, what, 50, 60 grand at the most, really? Seriously.
Yeah.
If you're just paying for yourself and you're just in Thailand, that's all you need.
I was going to say, and think about the life experience.
Right.
Living in another country for however long, getting to experience that culture inside out. Like,
yeah, it's fantastic.
It gives you an edge with any business because it helps you understand how people work all over the world, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, I'm completely on board with this idea. I love the advice. If you can have that stream of income, it's incredibly important. Because here's what happens to a lot of people. They have a savings. They say, okay, I'm going to save 6 months, 8 months, 12 months worth of my mortgage or my rent or whatever it's going to be, food, yada, yada, yada. And then I'm going to go out and start my business. And then there's unexpected expenses, et cetera, et cetera. That winds up getting cut by a third or maybe even in half. And then the burnout begins because you're getting closer to that 6 month mark where you're going to run out of money. The project's not done because it always takes twice as long as you think, and you get half the customers you think you're going to get, and that's just the reality. And then the burnout occurs, and then they're just like, oh man, I can't do this anymore. I got to go back to the workforce. Yeah. And then your dream is dead, and you're terrified to ever try that again.
People tend to forget that more businesses fail than succeed, right? And there's a reason for that.
What do you think that ratio is? It's high.
I know. In the restaurant world is the highest.
Oh yeah,
and I think it's 87% fail.
Yeah, fail. Oh God, yeah, definitely. And that's the restaurant world. But let's just try to equate that to the tech world, right? Because that's a lot of what we see here, our technology based companies. Even that's high, right?
Yeah. Now I want to look this stuff up.
It's got to be 40-50%. If not more. It's got to be.
I think it's more than that.
I'm saying it's got to be at least that.
Let's see. How many businesses?
If only there were a way to find out.
Yeah, I know. Or at least get a general idea. 20% of businesses fail their first year.
Right. That sounds about right. That seems a little low. I would say by the third year.
5 years, 50%.
Within 5 years.
Yep. Survive. And then 30%, 10 years.
Survive.
So
70% of businesses fail within 10 years.
Within 10 years.
Wow. See, I've always heard the magic number is 7 years. If you get past 7 years, you're generally okay. And oddly enough, in my business, right around that 7-year mark is when I started seeing things turn around.
Yeah. 25% make it past 15 and 5% make it past 30 years.
Wow.
But I mean, that's not unreasonable because if you think of all the businesses that are like what I call like lifestyle businesses, where it's a CPA that opened his own firm, right?
Right.
He does his 30 years and he sells it, sells his client list, he's done, right?
Yeah, no one's buying that from him. No one's buying the company and continuing that company. Someone's starting their own, maybe buying the client list and moving on, right?
So, but yeah, I mean, I'm surprised that the number isn't higher the first year, to be honest with you.
Yeah, the first year seems low, only 20%.
Well, but
I guess it makes sense because people are putting their own money into
Correct.
it. And they know they have to do it for at least a year or two.
Surviving doesn't mean profitable.
Correct. Right.
Right?
The business is in existence.
Yes.
Profitable, probably a different ratio.
Also, because it's from the SBA, that includes sole proprietors and all that stuff, right? So,
right. So anyway, so who is this? This was On a Goat. Thank you. That's absolutely great advice. Please listen to that. If you can get an alternative stream of income while starting your business, man, it really helps you go a long way. It really does. But like we said earlier, once you get that business started and you're ready to start selling, make sure that alternative stream of income does not interfere with you getting your business going, because you have to devote as much time as you can to it. Because again, if you don't do it, no one else is going to do it for you.
Every hour you're freelancing is an hour where you can't promote it.
Correct. And if you weren't there for that hour on Friday, then you wouldn't have gotten that big deal.
That is correct.
Yeah, so there you go. All right, cool. All right, let's see. Okay, speaking of SaaS, Funny Grapefruit 5160 says apparently they have a SaaS platform. They're stuck at 8 to 10,000 MRR, monthly return,
monthly
revenue,
monthly reoccurring revenue.
Monthly reoccurring revenue. Thank you. I couldn't remember the acronym for a year now. How do we 10 times this? Ooh. Like the title says, we're an AI SaaS. Everyone's an AI SaaS startup. In the AI voice video space, stuck at 8 to 10,000 per month for about a year. They got pretty complacent with that, and we didn't focus on growth. My mistake. Looking to rectify this. We've been here for at least for the last 3.5 years, and are constantly mentioned at the top 10 tools that are in our space. So that's kind of cool. Our strong suit versus our competitors is our SEO, which is where we're doing a lot better than some, but they seem to be getting more traffic, revenue, which is pretty mind-boggling to me. So we're planning to run YouTube, Google Ads, and extensive competitor research that'll help replicate this. Okay. Anyway, I'm not sure what you're trying to say there. Anyway, so they're basically trying to figure out how do we increase our sales with a SaaS product.
Advertise.
Well, yeah. Well, they said
right?
they said they're going to start doing that. Yeah. The YouTube and Google ads. I think it got to be in more places than that, though. It can't just be those places.
Well, at that revenue level, yes.
You think so?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
You can
expand.
Well, I tell people all the time, you can, for your first $1 million in revenue, you can advertise, you can use a single platform and you will not max it out.
And which one would that be?
Depends on what industry you're in. It could be YouTube.
Well, this guy.
It could be TikTok. It could be Meta. Just pick one platform.
Okay.
Rather than trying to distribute, because most people that are under $1 million don't have the marketing budget that's big enough that it actually can be spread and still be effective across multiple platforms, right? And I run into this all the time. Someone comes to me and says, oh, I have a $2,000 a month budget and I want to be on Facebook and Google Ads. And I'm like, that's barely enough for a Google Ads program, right? Like, if you want to see any type of real result, you should just pick one of the two platforms and go all in on it. And until you hit $100,000, $150,000 a month, there's no reason to go elsewhere.
When you say $100,000 a month, you mean in revenue?
In revenue.
Right. Generated from the ads.
Correct.
Right.
And it's just interesting because people have a tendency of spreading their marketing budgets too thin. And the people that generally do really well with growth go in and just dominate a platform.
Okay.
And that's the way you should do it, especially in this industry.
All right. So if you're running, in this case in particular, if you're running a SaaS product for AI, video and such, video and voice, where would you recommend they advertise? Either
YouTube or TikTok.
YouTube or TikTok.
TikTok has a huge AI community, and we've talked about this before, right? Is find your community, right? So wherever your community is where you should be advertising. And I think right now you're probably looking at TikTok. YouTube has a pretty good AI community as well, but I actually think TikTok's is stronger. Mm-hmm. And also because you're in the visual voice video, it's a perfect place to grow organically too, and to actually showcase what the software can do.
Okay.
So use it. Like, use it to actually make the ad. Use it to have your own TikTok up and running.
Right.
Same thing. Do YouTube Shorts. Showcase what the software can do. That's how you're going to get people to start talking about it. The moment they start talking about it, they'll start looking at it.
Now, is there anywhere you would recommend that they post things that's not necessarily advertising, but like you can make your own YouTube channels, things like that, but it's not necessarily advertising? Actually,
what I would do is I would try to find AI influencers, because there's a bunch of them out there, and get them to actually showcase your AI and what it can do.
And how would one go about doing that?
Literally find the influencer and send them a message.
Yeah, it's all right. That's all it is.
It is literally what it is.
You're basically starting a conversation with these people, and if you find 20 of them and you send it to all 20, 2 or 3 might say, yeah, sure. They might like your product.
ChatGPT actually did this.
Really?
Yeah, they hired an influencer. Her name is CatGPT.
Okay.
She was a former, what was she? She was a project manager.
All right.
That led development teams. And she always said, well, I'm a translator, because I have to translate from human to tech. We've talked about this before, right? She's like, so she was in a weird situation where she understood the tech but still speaks human. Mm-hmm. So ChatGPT hired her to come do a series on prompting and how AI works.
Oh, very cool.
And because I was looking at ChatGPT's TikTok the one day, and I'm like, what is she doing here? Because I recognized her.
Right.
But yeah, there's a handful of AI influencers in that space that probably wouldn't cost you a ton of money to hire to do a handful of videos for you, and then see which of those videos work, and then take those videos and turn them into ads.
Well, there you go. That's a great. Yeah, another way. And that probably won't. Probably won't cost it very much to do.
No.
If anything, some of these influencers will do this stuff to either get first crack at your software. Other ones will do it for maybe some revenue down the line.
Free lifetime access. Yeah, there's all kinds of deals.
And some people just do it just to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really cool. Yeah, okay, so there you go. So pick a platform, stick with it, and try the influencer route.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That would be the
and
two that I would
recommend do. TikTok in this particular instance?
Either TikTok or YouTube. I mean, if you're doing the influencer route, I would start with TikTok. There's a lower cost of entry.
Right.
It's easier to get a hold of some of the influencers, because you can literally make a reply video to them. Like you can there's so many ways that you can get a hold of them. But yeah, that's where I would probably start in this specific case.
Okay. Now, since we brought up TikTok, we'll kind of sidetrack for a minute. What do you think is going to happen with TikTok?
Nothing.
You think it's going to stay as is? Nothing's changing?
Correct.
You think it's going to get bought out?
No.
And everything stays the same?
Yes.
So it's all bluff?
Yes.
It's all scare tactic?
Yes.
Why? To what advantage?
I think they originally wanted it. It was a scare tactic so that down the line we can start setting more regulation on social media in general. And they are using TikTok as the scapegoat.
Because it's owned by another country.
Because it's owned by someone else. Yeah. And that's where the fear tactics are going to start, which they did. I mean, they have buyers lined up.
Oh, yeah.
So, like, okay, if they're forced to sell, none of us will know any different. Like,
it won't change for us.
Correct. Nothing's going to change for the user.
Right.
It's going to change for who owns it, shareholders. The data is going to stay exactly where it is. Like, nothing is going to change other than whose name is on the legal paperwork for who owns it.
Right.
So it's one of those where I'm like, when people are like, oh, what are you going to do if it goes away? And I'm like, first of all, it's not going away.
Yeah, it's not going away.
And secondly, there are 4 other platforms you can jump on at any given time. Right. And they're like, yeah, but it's so much easier on TikTok. And I'm like, no, you just put that much more work into it.
Right.
Right. Yeah. That's the only difference, is you're putting more work into that platform than others, which is why you think it's easier.
Yeah.
I mean, granted, like the YouTube and the YouTube Shorts crowd, it's harder to break into. I mean, do you know who Patrick Bet-David is?
I do know the name, yeah.
What the hell's the name of their show? Info something. Thank you. It's So
The PPD podcast.
yeah.
Okay, yeah.
So they had been running it, I think he said they had been running it for almost a year before it actually took off. And it all took off because of one short that went viral.
That's usually what happens.
Right. And it was interesting because now, like, they get all kinds of people on there and it's become hugely popular.
Yeah.
But once again, most people will not take a year to do anything or grow it on any of these channels,
And
right?
you know why? Because they don't actually enjoy it.
Yeah,
There's no way. There's like you and I will do this forever. I don't care. I love this. I love sitting here with you each week doing this. This is great.
I was just talking to the guy that works for me yesterday because we were going back and reworking some of my old podcast.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize I had done, I think, 47 episodes, right?
Oh.
Which puts me in the top 1% of podcasts.
What?
47
puts you in the
episodes
top 1%?
puts me in the top 1% of podcasts.
That's ridiculous. That means everyone's just giving up.
That is correct.
Because they're expecting, I do a podcast, where's my million viewers the next day?
Most podcasts don't make it past episode 10. I think once you make it past episode 10, you're in like the top 5%, right? Like that's
ridiculous.
It's crazy. But that gives you an idea of how many people try to launch something and never make it past episode 10, right? Like why businesses fail? This is it.
So
right?
it's the same thing now. It's like, oh, that's what everyone else is doing. Let me try that too.
Yes.
And they realize, oh, I don't like this.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm not making millions of dollars yet, so I'm done. I'm out of here.
But
and you know what? No, hold on.
Yeah.
I'm on a soapbox right now. Hold
Okay.
on. You know what bothers me about this? These are the same people that will go out and they'll find like some get rich quick scheme, some get rich quick business that they see on TV or on YouTube or something like that, and they'll put everything they have into it for about 6 weeks.
Yes.
And it won't work because they think, because they read and they hear that, oh yeah, you can make lots of money doing this, like Amazon drop shipping, right? That was like the big thing a year ago. Was
TikTok
the Amazon
Shop.
drop. Yeah,
all of
it's
these.
crazy. And they go and do it, and then they're mad at everybody else that it's not working for them. That's not how life works. Not how business works.
Nope.
No one's going to want to buy from you. No one's going to want to listen to you. No one's going to want to work with you in business, whether it's podcasting, brick and mortar, online. Doesn't matter. No one's going to want to work with you if you don't give a damn about it yourself.
Yep.
And you don't just get into something and then quit, and because suddenly it's not working for you. Either you love doing it or don't do it.
And it's kind of what I was saying is I realized as I was re-listening to some of these podcasts and stuff, and I'm like, I actually miss doing those. I had a lot of fun doing it. They were 30 minutes.
Right.
The only thing that I'm probably going to relaunch it, but the only thing I'm going to change is I'm now going to do all of them remotely, right?
Okay.
Because we found out that part of the problem with getting guests on was the logistical problem.
Sure.
Right? Like they couldn't come sit at my studio. They couldn't, like we didn't have the time to do it. But
is this the crap no one tells you
Yeah.
about yet? Oh, I thought you were still doing that.
no, we took a break when someone wasn't able to get our trademark filed.
No. Hold on. No. I am correcting the record here. Correcting the record. You asked me to look into the trademark. I told you immediately that it wasn't going to be able to go through, but you wanted to try it anyway. I was like, there's no way this is going to go through. You wanted to try it anyway.
So
sure enough, it was denied.
So
not on me, pal.
So when someone wasn't able to get us the trademark,
Wow. All right, show's over. See you, people.
we kind of took a hiatus, and you know what happens when you take a break from something, right?
Yeah.
Like it's that project that you have sitting there that you were
Right.
going to take, a couple of days off of, and now it's 6 months later and you still haven't gotten back. That's kind of what ended up happening. But and same thing, we lost one of our offices. The lease was up, so like I lost my studio, I lost my setup. So now I was like, okay, now I got to find a new spot to set all this up, and and I finally got to the point yesterday where I was like, do you know what? I should probably set up a make-believe studio at my house, and I can do these. It's literally 40 minutes out of my day.
Yeah.
The big thing is just finding the guests. Like, who do I want to bring on to talk about what?
Right.
Because we've talked about all kinds of stuff on that podcast.
Oh, sure.
I mean, I think you were my very first guest, actually.
Was I?
I think so.
Nice.
I think it was you.
It might have been.
Oh, no. It was the mortgage guy, Mike Thompson. I think, was the very first one.
Oh, really?
I think you were number 2 or 3.
Oh, that's okay.
Yeah, that's.
I'll always be second in your heart, I'm sure.
But it's funny because that podcast is actually still getting downloaded. People are still listening.
Cool. No,
People are still finding
it. Was a fun podcast. It was.
It was fun. I remember we had 2 clips that went absolutely bonkers.
Yeah, I think Jason Oz was one of them, right?
The funeral director. Yeah. And then Dr. Mark Lund.
Oh yeah, Mark. It's great.
And then,
what a great guy.
And then there was one. There was a lady that I had on. She's a general contractor, and she runs. It's called Hip Chicks, and she's basically teaching women or men how to do basic projects around their house.
Love it. That's great.
So we deliberately edited one clip to be controversial, even though it shouldn't have been. And that one went so viral that other influencers in the space actually started using it.
Oh, wow.
In their videos.
That's cool.
So it was kind of interesting.
That's great. I love that. No, that's cool. I honestly, I thought you were still doing it. I didn't realize you stopped doing it for a while. Yeah, you should absolutely keep that one up. That was fun. It
was a fun one.
All right, let's move on.
Maybe I'll bring you on for the startup conversation of that one.
Hey, whatever you want, buddy. All right, let's see. Okay, well, this is another marketing question, so we'll make it a marketing.
There's a lot of marketing stuff today.
That's okay, no problem with that. How do I market my MVP service? And this is from Karen Singh Webb. Long story short, recently got laid off from my day job. Since I already had some clients from before, I decided to go full-time on my MVP service offering. Everyone really loves my work, but the problem is that my previous clients were all through personal connections, all inbound, and now I'm not really sure how to get more of these clients to sustain my business. I've made some decent money, but not nearly enough to replace my previous salary. What can I realistically do from here? Well, I would say number 1 is join your networking groups. Yeah. Right? Local networking groups are huge, right? We were just talking about them a few minutes ago before the show started, right? So you have your Chamber of Commerce, right? Always important. They always have good networking groups. Your BNIs, your LaTips, groups like that. Always worth looking into those things, because if you get into the right group, what happens is, even if there's like 20 people in the group, sometimes there's 50 people in the group, sometimes 100. It doesn't matter. You get into the right group, all it takes is you finding 2, 3, 4, 5 people that can help you grow your business because they're in the right, what are called power players or power partners, right? And you find the right people that strategically can help you grow your business because they'll know people in their industry that can use your service. It depends on what your service is. This person doesn't get in specifics about what they offer, but let's just say it's a Salesforce type service, right? It's like a CRM for salespeople, right? So who do you go to? Well, you find people that have a lot of salespeople or have need for a lot of salespeople in these groups, right? And you find those people and you start working with them. It can help you make your product better, give you better advice on what to do with the product, but more importantly, it can get you to people that they work with who undoubtedly have other salespeople, and that can help grow your business as well.
Yeah, and the funny thing is, sometimes it doesn't even take 4 or 5 people. Sometimes it just takes one.
Yeah, it just takes one.
Yeah. I have a friend of mine, and whenever we go golfing, whatever it is, he always pays. Because,
that's why you like him. That's why he's your friend.
Well, he always says it's my commission. So I made a single introduction. I introduced him to one other person.
Yeah.
That introduction led him to having 110 million under management.
Holy cow.
It was one introduction.
Wow.
That snowballed. I mean, he had to work it.
Yeah, sure.
Right?
Well, of course. You don't just here you go.
But that introduction led to him having, I think he says he now has 110 million under management.
Wow, that's fantastic.
So that's why he always pays when we go golfing. And same thing, a couple of years later, I made another introduction, and that led him to taking over the benefits for 26 companies. Okay. Benefits management. Once again, one introduction.
Right.
He could live just fine just on those 2 introductions. So it's
crazy.
It's always about, and it's like this guy said, right? all of his clients were personal connections.
Right.
Well, make more connections.
Make more connections. Exactly.
It's math.
That's the best way to grow your business. It really is. Everyone thinks, you got to advertise on TV, this, that. And to a point you do, and somewhat you do, but at the end of the day, it's really all about connections.
But if you're just if you're a small local business, if you're looking to work with local clients, connections are far more important than advertising.
Yeah, absolutely.
A lot of the time, right?
So let's talk about. So let's go down the networking route. Okay. So let's say that networking is the avenue you're going to take. Here's the thing people don't realize, and I know you get this because we network all the time. People think that they walk into and let's say there's 70 people in a networking group, right? It's just round number 70. Okay, and you walk into it and you go to the meeting and it's high energy and everything's cool. Where's my business? Where's all the money I'm supposed to be making? After one meeting, people do that. They think they're going to walk in and suddenly everyone's going to start calling them and they're waiting by the phone and the phone doesn't ring. And they're like, oh, well, this isn't working for me, right? It can take a year or more before people call you because, well, again, why? You know why.
I tell people all the time is any networking you do is going to take at least a year to develop relationships, assuming that you see the people on a regular basis, right? If you go to open networking and you see someone once a quarter for a year, and that's
not it.
No,
that's not going to work.
No. Can you get lucky and someone happens to be looking for what you're doing at one of these events and ends up calling you? Yeah. But networking isn't advertising. Networking is long-term intent of building relationships with the right people.
So look at it like this, right? So let's say you're an accountant and you're going to one of these groups, right? Chances are almost everybody there already has an accountant, right? That doesn't mean you walk away from the group. What it means is you build those relationships over the next 6, 12, 18 months. Inevitably, someone or multiple people will either their accountant's retiring, they're not working with that person, the accountant made a mistake and they don't want to work with them anymore, right? And now they need a new accountant. Now they know you. Once they get to know you on a personal level, now they're willing to give you a chance.
Yep.
Right?
I use the payroll service all the time.
Yeah.
Right? Because nobody switches their payroll until something goes wrong.
That's right.
Right? So you want to be there when that happens.
Yeah.
And I remember there was a group I was in. There was a payroll guy. He was in there for 13 months, almost to the date. He left the group after month 13. We got a new payroll guy in the group. The following month, a handful of people had all been with the same payroll company.
Yeah.
That payroll company messed up. The new guy got 6 new clients his first month because he happened to be there.
And that was luck. That was pure luck.
It was pure luck,
Pure
right?
luck.
But I'm like, if that guy had stayed month 14, he would have gotten all 6 clients.
Patience. It's all about patience. This what we talked about earlier. It's just people think that they can just jump into business. They can just jump into networking. They can just jump into anything, and they should see immediate returns.
Yeah.
And if they don't, they're out.
Yeah.
You're never going to succeed that way.
I mean, that's what I do with everything in my life.
Yeah.
I think...
Well, you jump right out?
Everything should be instant gratification. I should be able to order a business in a box on Amazon.
Right. That's right,
And it should be delivered next day.
And it should work tomorrow.
Yes.
And if I have to wait that long, I'm not happy.
I
seriously wonder, has it always been like this, you think?
Yes.
I really want... Well, hold on. It may have to do with technology, right? No, you don't think so? You think it was like this in the 80s?
Amway?
Yeah, what about it?
Same difference. People would jump into these multi-level marketing things thinking...
Get rich quick.
Yeah, correct, right? But that's what it all was. Is not all of it. Let's not knock an entire industry, right?
Yeah.
But most people got into that type of stuff because it was the promise of, this is going to work for you and make you rich. Does it for some people?
Well, that was probably feeding on the just the desires of people to do something like that, or people who didn't know any better. Maybe
it's the same stuff that's happening today.
I think it's worse. I think it's worse today. And I mean, I was a kid in the 80s, so I don't remember. But I feel like technology has made it worse for us because everything we get is instant. You want information? You wanted to know something 10 minutes ago on the podcast, and you looked it up, as opposed to having to go to the library or do research.
But it's also selective. Like, does it take you longer to gather information in the 80s than it does now? Yeah, but how many people that see one of those get rich now business in a box type thing actually bother looking up anything about the business, or whether,
even though it's easier to do?
Correct.
Yeah, they just see a video and say, "Oh, I want that."
Correct. Back in the day, we would go around and we would ask friends and family, right? Like, have you heard of this? Do you think it's a good idea? Now you can literally look this information up, and the vast majority of the stuff you see out there, there's going to be a Reddit thread that is going to tell you how bad of an idea this is, unless you commit to it. Because I'm a firm believer in, if you get into multi-level marketing, if you get into any type of business, if you get into, you want to pull the bell out?
Oh no!
If you get into franchising,
there it is. There's the word.
If you get into any of these types of business, there's a reason franchisors, for example, don't sign a 1-year contract with a franchisee, right? It's five or 10-year contracts generally.
Because they'll jump out. They'll jump right out.
MLMs. The people that make it in the MLM are the ones that have stuck with it for a long period of time. Because I know people, actually I have a remote cousin that is the top 5 of Herbalife.
Okay.
And he's a multimillionaire from building his Herbalife business. I used to have, when I lived in Florida, I met this random guy online. And we had what we called like Thursday coffee.
Yeah.
This was when like Zoom and stuff, video calls, we would actually do it on Skype back then. He started in the MLM industry, was in 3 MLMs, lived in the Caribbean, did all of his work from there, multimillionaire, all from MLM businesses. MLMs would actually come and recruit him to be in the starting phases of it, right? So, but once again, he had built a career doing it.
So, I know where you're going with this, and I look at, like, I see these ads, not ads, but like these videos online, like use flipping houses as an example, right? You'll see these videos all the time. Oh, all you need is a spreadsheet that looks like this, and put these numbers in, and you too could be flipping houses tomorrow. And it doesn't make sense to me because there's so much involved. You can't just walk into a house, buy it, and flip it. There's so much involved.
Do you know what that sounds like to me? It's just come to this building and sit in these classes, and we'll give you this degree.
Right.
And then you'll walk out and you'll have a 6-figure job. Right? Like,
what could you possibly be referencing?
I don't know, right? But to me, that it's the exact same thing. Does it work for everybody? No. Is it a base level education on a topic that, if you have all the other elements, could be part of what builds your success? Absolutely.
It's all experience, though. You got to get the experience. That's
correct.
The thing.
And you don't get that
you don't get that. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
No, until you go out and do it.
Right. You don't get it in the first 6 months.
Correct.
It takes a while.
There's actually a buddy of mine works for a YouTube creator. I think her name is Noelle.
Okay.
And she teaches people how to do real estate. Like, that's literally, she has an entire master program or like a development program where they train you on how to go through the entire real estate process and how to become a real estate investor. And the program's pretty damn good. Yeah. Like, it's better than most college courses. And it's expensive. I mean, it costs, I don't remember exactly what the number is, but it's not like one of those $99 things. And then they've taken it a step further where they partner with like other people in the industry to help people kind of like navigate how to become investors.
Yep.
It's a brilliant program, right? Is that a get rich quick? No.
No, that's not get rich quick.
Will everybody be able to go through the program and succeed? No. Right? Like, if we look at, let's say, colleges, if you exclude master's and doctor's degrees, if we just do bachelor's, how big of a percentage of people actually end up working in the field they go to college for?
Oh my God! So it's so small.
It's
so small.
It's a ridiculously low number, right? And you would think, well, you just spent, I don't know, $200,000 for 4 years of college to go get a degree in something, and now you're not going to do it, right? Okay, so you spent $299 on some online program that taught you how to flip real estate. Doesn't mean you're ever going to be able to do it or want to do it.
Right.
But if you don't know, you don't know, right? So I'm all for, I said this a while ago, is people no longer pay for information. They pay for structured information.
Yeah. Right. Yes.
That's what you're paying for.
That's a great way to put it. Yes.
So if you have information and you can figure out a way to structure it where it makes sense for someone, almost creating like a step-by-step blueprint, that is worth something to someone. Whether they will be able to do it or not is completely different.
Yeah.
But that's where the value is. And I think that's where a lot of these programs that we're seeing roll out that I say are like borderline scams is, and you're seeing more and more of it now with like the chatbots and AI and all that, is people are going on and having AI develop a program for them that they're now selling as a digital product, right? Like they're selling it as this is a class on how to do it.
Do you have you any clue? I don't know if you've ever done it, how easy it is to write a whole book with AI.
So do you know what I just did yesterday?
I've done it. It's crazy. It took like 4 hours and I had an entire 11 chapter book written on it with AI.
So do you know what I did yesterday?
What?
I created myself as a custom GPT.
Oh, you have to explain that one in detail.
So I took all of the writing, my books, my articles, my content, my training programs, everything that I've done. And I didn't realize how much stuff I've actually done until it came time to gather all of it. And I uploaded it all to a custom GPT.
Okay. Gotcha.
And then I had it analyze all the writing. And
so it knew who you were.
I basically created a mini-me.
Yeah.
And I am now using it to write content. And half the time, I would not be able to tell you that I didn't write it.
Wow.
Because it is actually using references from things that I had written in the past that I didn't remember that I wrote until I read it again. And I'm like, wait a minute, didn't I? And I go back and look at it and I'm like, oh yeah, this was chapter 3 in my sales mastery program. Like it pulled from there to write this article.
Right.
And I was like, oh my God, like I can actually do a lot of this stuff faster. But I can't believe it took me this long to figure out that I could upload all of this stuff and basically create a mini-me. And I'm using it now. I started playing around with it yesterday. I'm going to be playing around with it this afternoon. And I'm going to start like drilling down on things that I know, like I said, to see if I can get it to work around something like that. But it's... Oh, dude, I'm so excited about this. You have no idea.
That is pretty cool.
That is really cool.
We'll have to talk more about that offline. I want to hear more about that. All right. Anyway, so back to this. So how do you market your MVP service? That's how you do it, right? Get out there.
Build relationships.
So what's that?
Build relationships.
Yeah, exactly. Go network, build relationships. I wouldn't worry about the actual advertising yet. Start making some money first. Well, like, what do you usually tell your clients? Like, at what threshold do they start turning their revenue into advertising dollars?
I tell people all the time, if whatever amount you're giving to me for the next 6 months, if it's going to impact your life negatively, you are not at a place where you should be spending money on advertising.
Okay, so that's the formula then.
That's what I use, right? Is if you can't afford to lose the money for the first 6 months, you probably shouldn't be spending it on marketing because... campaigns can go wrong. Yeah. You could get 0 return for 6 months, right? And then month 7 it takes off, or month 9. But I mean, there's no guarantee that what you will spend your money on will have any type of return. And the lower budget, the less money you're spending, the more primitive your advertising should be.
Yeah, agreed.
Right? Like if you are, and I've brought this up before, there was a company that came to me and said, hey, we want to start doing SEO. And their budget was like, I don't know, $1,100 a month, $1,200 a month. And I'm like, that's a decent budget. And then I went and looked at their industry and I'm like, you're in a highly competitive...
Like jewelry or something like that, right?
Actually, believe it or not, it was power washing.
Oh.
And I was like, this is a highly competitive industry. I'm like, you're better off doing direct mail or door hangers than you are doing SEO.
Yeah.
Because if you need that immediate return, if you go out into a development and you hang 500 door hangers, you're probably going to get a call or two, right? If you spend that same money on SEO, you're probably not seeing anything.
You're not seeing anything.
So, and
for
that's
a while.
For a while, right? And it's funny because we are now on month 9 doing SEO for them after they did the traditional marketing for a year. And then they got to a point where on month 9 at that $1,200 budget, they are just starting to rank now.
Okay.
It took 9 months to get them
It does.
even onto the first page.
Yeah. People don't get that.
No.
Well, we should do a whole episode on SEO and what a nightmare that is.
There was a report that was released yesterday. They did a 23-month study of 238 million keywords.
Yeah.
And that is the other part that I will be doing this afternoon, is reading that entire study, because it's fascinating.
It is. It's crazy. And people think it's like, oh yeah, I should show up number 1. No, you're not showing. I don't care how much you have. You're not showing up number 1 that quickly. All right. So good luck to you. Moving on. Labracadabra. Oh, cadabrador. That's like a play on abracadabra. All right.
And Labrador.
So asks, do you use Instagram or other social media tools for your startup? Yes. Should we go on? Okay. For those of you who have launched a startup, I'm curious about your experience using social media as part of your early promotional strategy. Did you rely on platforms like Instagram, TikTok, or LinkedIn to spread the word about your product or service right after release? Or did you focus on other channels before officially going to market? What worked best for you to create visibility and attract your first users or customers? Any specific tips or lessons learned? Also, if you didn't use social media, what were your reasons and what alternative strategies did you explore? Absolutely use social media.
Oh, yeah.
And not even when the product's ready to go. You do it beforehand. Pre-promote in social media.
Yeah.
Right?
And once again, for this specific one, when you're starting out, I always tell people start on TikTok.
Yeah.
Because
I love TikTok.
you can put on unlimited
Should I get a TikTok bell too?
No. The thing is, their algorithm is the fastest at connecting you to the right community.
Yeah, it is.
Right? And that's the only reason. So you could put out 10 videos a day, and in a month, you could have 1,000 people that are all in your community, that are following you, that you have an opportunity to reach out to, that you have a community to build around. From there, if you then want to advertise, guess what? You can tell TikTok, I want more people like the people that are following me.
Yeah.
And if you have only put out authentic content or genuine content, if you haven't run any, don't pay to get followers, any of that stuff, that algorithm is going to be pretty good at pushing you out to the right type of people, because they know a lot about what people enjoy watching, what they're interested in, all that stuff. And it's a great starting point. We use TikTok a lot for testing, because if we run something on TikTok and it takes off, we know we can probably use it elsewhere too.
Yeah, TikTok's algorithm, it really is something else. Aside of the the videos that you watch and such, I've read tech journals that have talked about how that algorithm is probably the best matchmaking algorithm in the world. And they're not using it for that right now, but it knows so much about you as an individual that if they were to turn it into some type of matchmaking service, that it would find your perfect mate, because it knows so much about you and then can find a person who would match perfectly with you. And it's there's no other algorithm out there that can do that, they say. It's crazy. What it knows about you is quite scary, actually, sometimes.
But that's technically,
but that's why it works.
Correct. And that's technically what they're doing. There's a reason the average user spends 57 minutes on TikTok a day.
Is that right?
It's something like that. It's I think it was over an hour.
We used to spend that on TV.
Correct. But it's because the algorithm is so good at matching you with content that keeps you glued to that phone. It's amazing. Yeah,
it becomes a dopamine addiction. It really does. It's and you're just sitting there, and next thing you know, an hour's gone by.
Yeah.
Whoa, what just happened?
And now after
how did I get to 1 a.m.?
Once they started allowing longer videos on there too, I find myself every once in a while watching a 3-minute video on TikTok, but I don't know. I also follow weird stuff.
So that's interesting. What's your ideal length for a video? Like, what do you look for when you're trying to watch a video? Like, how long are you trying to watch for? I know it depends on the content and such, but
and that's 100% it. Like, if you're doing a comedy skit, I'm not watching a 7-minute comedy skit.
Right. I want a quick laugh.
Correct. If I am looking into why the Earth is really flat, I want a good 5 to 7 minute explanation as to why the Earth is flat. Mm-hmm. If I'm looking up, certain things, organic farming, how do I start an organic farm in my backyard or any of that stuff? I don't want 30-second clip videos.
Right.
I want a comprehensive guide that walks me through, here is how I would do it.
Yep.
Right. So it really is based on your intent as the user should match how long the video is.
So I agree with that. So for the quick chuckle or just a quick bit of information, like a quick 30-second video is fine. But me personally, for the most part, I like the longer videos. And the reason is because if I'm taking my time to watch something, I want to learn something. Mm-hmm. And I'm not learning something in 3 minutes, on a video in 3 minutes. It's going to be the long haul video, 11, 12, 15-minute long videos where they get into depth and analysis on things. Now, that's me. I'm a nerd, so that's just how it is.
But that's where YouTube used to dominate.
Yeah,
right. Like that was YouTube.
Yep.
Now TikTok is, I'm not going to say they're taking away market share with that, but they're definitely clawing into that market with the users that are already using TikTok. Mm-hmm. The fact that they're allowing you to upload videos now that are 59 minutes and 59 minutes and 59 seconds.
Right.
They can't be a full hour.
So just under an hour.
Yeah. They say 60 minutes, but we tried it and it doesn't work.
It doesn't work.
But there was a lady, funny enough, a lady that does AI. She has an hour-long training course that she had on YouTube. It was 59 minutes and 32 seconds, and she uploaded it.
Wow.
So I didn't actually... She said she was going to report back on how it did because she was curious. But I remember when I found that, so I found the video where she was saying she was going to upload it. I went and looked at that video. What blew my mind is how many saves compared to likes it had. It was the first video I'd ever seen that had more saves than likes.
Wow. That's crazy. Because people hadn't finished watching it, they want to go back to it and watch it later on. Yeah. Sure, I get that.
And I was like, that is a very interesting stat.
Yeah.
Because that never happens. It's like we have a video on one of ours that actually has more comments than likes.
Are they good comments?
Oh, people are arguing like crazy.
Oh, great. I love it.
Oh, yeah.
Great.
I like...
Sow the discourse. Love
correct.
it.
People just went after each other. And there would be people that, I would get notifications and the same guy or same lady, whatever, would go in and reply to 9 comments.
Oh, it's great.
And then someone else would come in and do the same. And I was like, people, really?
That's incredible. I love that. Absolutely. Back to the question. Yeah, of course, you absolutely want to use social. It's the best way to get your name out, your information out there, relatively cheap, if not free, right? If you do it the right way, and you'll reach a greater audience than you ever would before.
Oh yeah,
and quicker than before.
Getting in front of people now is easier than ever.
Yeah. But now the problem is it's oversaturated, and you're one of a million other people doing the exact same thing.
That's always been the case.
Yeah. So just make sure that your personality is good and that people, your product is good that people want, and you'll be fine.
And make it interesting.
Yeah. And you don't have to appease everybody.
And don't make feature videos. Don't make this is what my product can do.
Right.
Or this. Always do this is what my product solves.
So what would you say is... Because I think this will help this person, the time span of the initial, here's the introduction to my product. How quick, I know the word is quick. How quick should those videos be? Because I know they should be really quick.
Once again, it depends.
But you don't have people's attention for that long, especially if they don't know who you are.
But you can make, so I make videos that range from 15 seconds to 3 minutes.
But you're not really promoting a product in those videos.
I'm promoting a service at the end of the day. We want people to buy our marketing services and hire us on one of my channels, right? So it depends on what the topic is, because I don't always want to just target people that have the goldfish memory, right? That are looking for the 10 seconds.
Yeah.
Do I want them as well? Yes.
Be nice.
That could be how I get your interest. But I can always tell you when I'm about to get a phone call from someone.
Yeah.
Because I'll see a like from them, and then I'll see 15 more likes. And it's never on consecutive videos.
Right.
Right? It's on 7 videos apart or 4 videos apart. The object should be to make videos that are educational, that people learn about you, they learn about your product, they learn about what you solve. You should have those videos intertwined. Just don't expect them to go viral.
Right.
But those are the videos that when you have a video that, let's say you have a video that hits 10,000 views or 20,000 views, that video is going to be the trigger for them to go watch more videos.
Right.
And then the video that you have that was maybe a long format video, that was 3 minutes or 5 minutes, is potentially the one that actually converts them. So you can make anything from a 5-second video to a 5-minute video. You just have to understand that your 5-minute video is not the one that's going to get all the attention, but that might be the video that actually converts them to a customer.
Yeah. Okay. I gotcha.
So,
okay. So I guess for this person, again, not really knowing exactly what they're doing. Yeah, I guess you have to gauge the audience's attention span, what audience you're going after, and figure out what kind of length you want to have on your video.
Cater to all of them. So make it, rather than making it about person specific, make it topic specific.
Okay, there you go.
So tailor the length of your video to the topic you're talking about. Like, do you think me creating a 90-second video on how to do SEO would be helpful to anyone?
No. You're not going to learn anything in 90 seconds.
Could I do a 90-second video on...
call me. That's how you do it.
Could I do a 90-second video on why you should do SEO?
Yeah, sure.
Correct.
I got you.
Right?
Okay,
So
that's good.
kind of
That's
the
good
difference.
advice. I like that. Good to go. All right, well, Labracadabra. I want to get this. Cadabrador. Labracadabrador. I like that. That's a cool name.
It is a cool name.
Good luck to you. I'm really curious what your business is, but maybe we'll hear from you at some point. All right, let's see what we got here. No. Man, it's all marketing today. Crazy. It was all tech last week, I think, or the week before.
It was AI.
It was all AI stuff.
AI
right?
was. We had one week where everybody was asking AI questions.
All right,
Co-founders
let's
or
see.
investors. We covered this last week.
No, well, I don't want to cover it. Again.
Co-founders and I'm like, no,
You wanna read it?
No,
Okay, good.
no, I don't.
36 startup ideas? No, it's all AI. Guarantee you it's all AI.
Yep.
Let's see. All right, I like this one. How to share equity in a startup. Okay, this is probably more my world.
That is your
All right,
world.
here we go. So this is from Engineering Worldly 45 asks, how to share equity in a startup. Starting a business is thrilling, but figuring out how to share equity among co-founders and team leaders can be a bit overwhelming. So this is a guide on what to do.
Oh.
Well, we're going to skip their guide. We're going to go into it ourselves. All right. So let's assume they were asking how to share equity in a startup, right? I mean, there's a lot to it here. And this guy actually, there's quite a bit here, but it really does come down to a couple of things. The two big things are, what are you doing and how much are you putting into it, right? So we'll start with the easier one. How much are you putting into it? Equity is going to be based on the capital that you're physically putting into the business, right? Whether it's cash, supplies, machinery, whatever kind of business it is, right? So let's take a business that has 4 partners. Okay, arbitrarily 4 partners. Obviously, 100% is the number of shares. Let's say that there's 10,000 shares in the company, right? Whether it's membership interest or it is stock, depending if you're a C corp or an LLC. Now, you value the business right then and there. What's the business worth? Well, the business is worth nothing. It's literally worth nothing when it first starts. Okay, so the shares are completely worthless. Then someone's going to put money into the business. Now, that person who puts cash into the business is going to have the first dibs at the shares. And you say, okay, what is that cash worth to the business? Now, there's 4 of you, so you can't give that person all 10,000 shares, right? But you're probably going to give them a good chunk of the shares. Let's say that person puts in $100,000, right? They're going to want a good chunk of the shares, right? Maybe you agree that they're not going to have controlling interest, so maybe they get 49% or 35% or something like that. right? Or maybe for that $100,000, that person says, no, I want controlling interest. And based off of the shareholders agreement or the operating agreement or whatever you're using, it says that you have to have, a plurality, which means it has to be 51% or more, right? Then that person gets 51% of the shares. It all has to do with what type of what type of control they want based off of the capital they're putting in. Now, ideally, each of the four of you are putting in the same type of capital, right? The same amount. So 25,000, 25,000, et cetera, and then you're splitting the shares evenly. Okay. So that's, again, you have to have the conversation beforehand with your partners on what you're doing. So that's the first way. The second way is the sweat equity, right? The tech, let's say everyone, what would we find a couple weeks ago? Everyone's looking for a tech co-founder, right? I have an idea, but I need someone to make it who's going to be my co-founder. Right? Yes. So that's the other side of it. Who's the person with the technical expertise, right? Or who's the attorney who's going to set everything up for us? That's going to be a partner, et cetera, right? So that's the other side of the coin. So you got to weigh the capital investment with the sweat equity investment that you're going to be putting into it, because maybe one of the four people is going to, or maybe let's say three of them are going to put in $10,000 each, right? But the fourth person who's not going to put any money in, but is the one building everything, right? And they're going to take the next 6 months to a year to build out the software or the tool or the resource or whatever it is that you're doing, right? And then that person, was that worth more than $10,000? Very likely, right? If it's taken that long. So you have to look at all those aspects to determine what interest each member is or partner is going to share.
And then you throw in a curveball where the one of the guys is the one that actually has the first 5 customers lined up.
Right.
Right. If you don't get him, you don't get those customers.
Exactly.
What's that worth now?
Yeah.
Right? So it's actual physical value and then estimated value.
So I always recommend my clients that it's the value at that moment in time, right? It's just like buying a stock. When I buy a stock today, of course I want it to appreciate, right? But I'm not paying for its future value. I'm paying for the stock today.
Right.
If it's $100 a share, I'm paying $100 a share because that's what it's worth today. I'm hoping it becomes $1,000 a share.
So let's say you have a guy, and I'm just being difficult now because
Please do.
This is one of those things, right? So let's say, for example, you have 4 owners.
Yeah.
And it's not a software business. It's a, landscaping business, whatever it is.
Auto repair shop.
Well, yeah. Okay. So you have one guy that's a mechanic.
Yep.
You have one guy that is really good at business. You have one that has money.
Yep.
And then you have the fourth guy that already has 30 customers.
Yep. Lined up and ready to go.
Lined up. Commercial accounts.
Yep.
Right? He already has the contract. They're just waiting to put the name on it.
Yeah, absolutely. I get it.
Is that contract worth something?
Well, I don't know, right? Because absolutely it's worth something.
Okay.
It's worth quite a bit. And you can actually monetize that and say, here's how much money we're expecting to make off of those 30, right, over the next year or two, right? No problem with that.
But that's future value though then.
It's not necessarily future because it's here today. It's here now. It's here. We know what we can put numbers to that.
Okay.
You're bringing X number of dollars to the table, right? We know that the person with the money is going to put in X number of dollars.
Because I'll give you an example of this is back in my early days when I was doing sales, there was a guy that I was working with who was also a sales guy, and we used to sell supplies into restaurants.
Yep.
And there was another company, someone that was competing with us that started. They literally called the guy that was working with me and offered him 40% ownership in the business, and he had to contribute nothing.
Yeah.
Right? Like they just said.
But he's bringing in the sales.
He brought in the relationships.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? So like all he had to do was the next day he went out and said, hey, by the way, I'm with this new company. We can sell you the same or similar stuff.
So I would have made one change to that. I have no problem with offering business ownership. But I would say that you have to bring in X number of dollars over the next X year, 2 years, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Right?
But the fact that they did it, they actually ended up becoming a very big player.
Oh, I'm sure. And that's exactly why you do it.
Without him, They would have barely gotten off the ground.
But so in that particular case, that is future, because you don't know if any of those people are going to come over or not. And that's why I like putting into the agreement, we'll give you 40%, but you have to bring in $2 million over the next year or two. I'm good with that.
I don't know what the exact numbers were.
No, of course. But your example earlier was this guy has 30 people signed, ready to go. Yeah. That's a little different because you can actually monetize that.
Well, yeah, because it is a number.
Right. You can say what it is versus the guy who's putting in the cash versus the mechanic who you know it's going to cost you $100,000 a year to have a good mechanic to do that job. Mm-hmm. So he's putting in $100,000 unless he's being paid.
Right.
If he's being paid, then you deduct whatever he's being paid from his what's called a capital contribution from his capital contribution to the company. Right. And it's not simple, but it's easy to figure out if you do the math what each person's putting into the company. Yeah. And then their shares should be based off of that.
And there's also another thing that people sometimes forget is that ownership percentage and profit payout percentage doesn't have to be the same.
That's correct. Yeah.
But people tend...
So right. So when it comes to an LLC, let's use that as an example, there's really two types of ownership interest. You have your membership interest, which is control, and your equity interest, which is money, capital, right? So your membership interest is who gets to say what happens within the LLC, who's the manager, who does this, who's fired, et cetera, et cetera. That's your membership interest. Then you have your equity interest, which is at the end of the year or end of the month or quarter, however often you do it, when there's profits to be earned, this is your equity interest. So you can have someone who's an equity owner only, but has no say over the company, over how the company operates on a day-to-day basis, or vice versa. Yeah. You want someone in there to help you run the company, so you're going to pay them to be a member, but they have no equity control, or a combination where they have 40% membership but only 10% equity, or something like that. Yeah. You can do that. Yeah, absolutely. There's no problem with that at all. So you can use basic math, honestly, to figure out what type of, how much equity or how many shares a person should get within a company. It's not hard to do. You just got to figure out what they're putting in. Remember, when the company is first starting, it's worth nothing. So it's all about what you're putting into it.
Yes.
100% about what you're putting into it.
And that's where a lot of people, when they take on partners and stuff,
they forget.
I'm not even going to say they forget, is they don't know.
Yeah.
I think that's far more important, is like, you don't know what you don't know. So people have a tendency of just, oh yeah, we're going to be partners and we're going to be 50-50 partners and life's going to be grand.
Yeah.
And a year later, you're like, why did you bring in 2 trucks, 7 lawnmowers? And, and I really didn't do much.
I brought a weed whacker.
Right. Like, does that equally represent what the company is now worth?
And people don't, and remember, you can put into your agreements, you're going to be our mechanic. You'll use the auto mechanic thing again. You're going to be our mechanic, and for the next year, you're going to be the one working on the cars. Mm-hmm. I'm putting up the cash. I'm bringing in the customers. They're this guy over here, and I forget what the third guy was doing, but it doesn't matter. The fourth guy is the mechanic, and you can put into the agreement, if you quit, if you stop being the mechanic within the first X number of years, you lose your shares.
Yeah,
you can do that. So that's why you have protections in these agreements to make sure that kind of stuff doesn't happen.
I don't think people understand.
Well, they don't understand.
They don't understand how much you can put into these agreements and how many conditional clauses and all that stuff.
It's it's like a computer program.
It's like a smart contract.
It's like a smart contract. Ethereum. It's like a smart contract, exactly. So I would absolutely. Anyone out there who's looking to become in a partnership or something like that, go read up, right? Go find out what it is that you would want to concern yourself with. I had 3 people, they started a company. I'm not going to name it right now, but they started a company a few months ago. And these are like really very, very, very intelligent people, high finance, et cetera, et cetera. And they came to me, said, hey, we want to put together an operating agreement for our LLC. And we don't know where to start. And I said, great. And we sat down for 2 hours, just sitting down to figure out what needs to go into the agreement.
Right.
And I was throwing things out there like, we never thought of. Well, why would you think of that?
Right.
Right. You've never been in this situation. Why would you have thought about that? And the thing that really blew their mind was the whole spousal consent thing, which I'm not going to go into too much detail. But when you're getting involved in a business, if you're married, your spouse is also getting involved in that business, whether you know it or not. And so there's all kinds of documents and stuff you need to have protection. Or more likely, you're not married, but your partner is.
Yeah.
You, as the non-married one, need to have protections from your partner's spouse in case they ever get divorced. You don't want that spouse coming in and taking over the business, right? So, or dying, and then the spouse comes and takes over the business. So there's all kinds of things you need to do to protect against that.
I'm a partner in another business, and we specifically have what happens in case of one of us getting into an accident and can no longer contribute to the business. What happens if one of us passes away,
right?
Like that's all written.
It's all written down.
Like there's no questions if any of this stuff happens.
But guess what happens if it's not? If it's not written down,
it becomes an issue.
It becomes a nightmare for everybody.
Oh yeah, and it's the stuff people don't want to think about, but you have to.
You have to think about it, and that's what attorneys are here to do. So, all right, I think that's going to be good for today.
Yeah, I think we're good.
You think we're good? I think we're good.
I think it's good to end on a
positive?
On
a non-marketing question?
On a non-marketing question. This has been the episode of marketing. But I think it's taking on partners, once again, even like this is where AI is excellent. Go ask AI, what should I be concerned about when entering a partnership, right? Like, and it'll walk you through some of the basics and trigger questions that you probably haven't thought about.
Exactly.
Then once you're done with that, call an attorney.
Yeah, I highly, and again, not just trying to promote myself as an attorney, highly recommend calling an attorney. I don't care who it is. Call somebody.
Yes.
Call an attorney and get their help with this, because this could be a real problem for you down the line. And a lot of people think, oh, we're best friends. We've been friends for 8. Okay, that's wonderful, right? And let's assume that friendship is continuing through the partnership. What happens when someone passes away? What happens when the friend gets into tax trouble, right? They're not trying to screw you over, but the IRS doesn't care, right? There's all kinds of things that could come up that has nothing to do with being nefarious. All kinds of things can come up that could hurt you as the partner if you don't plan for it ahead of time.
Yep.
So highly recommend talking to an attorney, but at the very least, go do your research.
Always.
So, all right, my man. We'll talk later on.
We will.
All right. I'm dying. I want to hear the podcast come back up, by the way, and I want to hear about this whole chat, this GPT thing you made for yourself.
Oh yeah.
I want to test it. I want to see if it knows Gummi as well as if you think it does.
Do you know what? I can actually send you a link and you can chat with it.
I want to see it. Absolutely.
I'll send it to you.
All right, man.